Good afternoon, one and all. Today's topic is epistaxis. It's a bleeding from the nose. It's called as epistaxis. There are various types of causes are there. The categorizing the causes depending upon the nature of pathology. Suppose there is a direct involvement, that is, local causes are considered as direct injuries or infections or any kind of stone concretions or any kind of various pathologies, like non-specific or specific pathologies are considered as a local one. Another one is a congenital one. It's a congenital telangiectasia. There is a malformation of the blood vessels which occur in the Little's area. You all know that Little's area is a prone area to get bleeding. That's why it is called as epistaxis. Clinically there are two types of epistaxis: anterior epistaxis and posterior epistaxis. Anterior epistaxis means when the bleeding occurs in the front of the nose, that is Little's area. It's also called as Kesselbach's triangle. Bleeding is mostly a bright red in color, continuous bleeding. Suppose the bleeding occurs on the posterior aspect, that is called as Woodruff's area. As a posterior epistaxis. Just I show the picture. This is the presentation. Kesselbach's triangle or Kesselbach's plexus or Little's area. In that, anterior ethmoidal artery, superior labial artery, sphenopalatine artery, gatopalatine artery are involved in this bleeding from the anterior aspect, that is front of the nose. Suppose the bleeding occurs on the posterior aspect, the pharyngeal and post-nasal artery of sphenopalatine arteries are involved in the epistaxis process. Okay. Then coming into the various investigations part. Commonly, we are having complete blood count, hemogram. Is there any other pathology is involved in the other than these common causes or any other causes? You have to rule out. For that purpose, we are going for the investigations in hemogram. Then mostly these anterior epistaxis are unilateral. Then coming into the posterior epistaxis, it is somewhat dark brown or bright dark red in color. It extends into the vomiting, nausea, vomiting. This hematemesis is most common in case of posterior epistaxis. You cannot able to visualize in case of post epistaxis, but you can able to visualize the source of bleeding in case of anterior epistaxis. The post nasal drip, that is blood is getting entering into the oropharynx area, is more common in the post epistaxis, not in case of anterior epistaxis. Then coming into the management is a post nasal packing is a most commonest one. It's like a ballooning. They will introduce a catheter. After that, they will make an infiltration. Further bleeding has been stopped by that infiltration of the bulb. Just you see the picture, you can understand. Okay. By catheter introduction, this entire tube has been entered into the nose. They make an infiltration of that balloon layer so that the bleeding cannot enter into the oropharynx area. Surgery is in case of nasal anomaly, you can go for the embolization. Complications: sinusitis, possibility of airway obstruction, toxic shock syndrome, and septal hematoma or abscess. Then coming into the next question, rhinosporadiasis is nothing but a fungal infection of the nose, is called as rhinosporadiasis. It's most commonly seen in India because in India there are many lakes, ponds are still in functioning level. What will happen? The lakes and ponds does not have the running water. Because of that lack of running water, there is possibility of more amount of fungal organisms that can go into that area. The persons who are taking bath or the animals has been getting into the bathing process, so all these contaminated things are entering into that pool area, so that when human beings are getting entangled with that, some of these organisms can enter into the ear or nose. It is especially the fungal infection which occurs in the nose is caused by Rhinosporidium seborrhei. In Tamil Nadu and Kerala, it is more predominant, where the lakes and ponds are still used by the many people. Young males are commonly affected. The other areas are nasopharynx, lacrimal apparatus, middle ear, then palate, maxillary antrum are commonly affected by the rhinosporadiasis. It is a typical one. It looks like a growth which is coming front of the nose. That is a more characteristic of rhinosporadiasis. It looks like a nasal polyp, but it is not like a. It is not nasal polyp. It's purely of fungal infection. It has a white dots are present in the growth. Okay, it is a friable red polypoidal mass tethered sporangia with white dots. When you take a smear, you take a small amount of pinch of that growth and examine it, you can able to see the spores there. This is called as sporangia. Just show you the picture. This is the picture. It can affect in the eye also. Okay, you can able to see a minor dots here. These are the spores. Then clinical features: nasal obstruction, epistaxis, nasal discharge. The region surrounding area are getting hyperemic, swollen nasal mucosa. There are some viscid secretions will be there. Histopathology showing the spores development, as well as microscopic examination also. Surgical management, excision of the growth along with the antifungal treatment. That's all about the rhinosporadiasis. Thank you.